In the dazzling city lights hides a mysterious assassin organization. No one has ever seen its members, nor does anyone know its name. They are like ghosts in the human world, becoming a legend in the city, a legend that fills people with both curiosity and fear. So, people gave it a name, Fable. The top assassin in Fable was trained in various killing techniques from a young age. He has the skill to take down any enemy within 6 seconds. However, outside of work, he is a quiet young man with a blank expression. His only hobby is watching the comedy show of T. Okamura. But to his beautiful partner, T. Okamura's show is incredibly boring. She simply doesn't get the humor. After completing a mission, Fable's boss felt they were getting too much attention. To avoid detection, they needed to lay low for the next year. They found a shady gang in Osaka to collaborate with, where they could blend in and start living ordinary lives. But during this time, they must not kill. If they do, the boss will kill them. To live as ordinary people, they needed ordinary names. Thus, they became Akira Sato and Yoko Sato.
私たちが夫婦？
兄弟だ。
それ見ない？
Years ago, Shin Kurogumi had a conflict with another gang and asked Fable for help. Akira Sato single-handedly annihilated their rivals. So, when this formidable figure arrived, Shin Kurogumi's leader, Hamada, was trembling with fear. Shin Kurogumi member Ebihara, on the other hand, was deeply suspicious. It didn't take long for him to find answers. At their first meeting, Hamada and Ebihara insisted no one should carry guns, but Akira Sato quickly noticed that both men secretly carried hidden guns. Akira Sato and Yoko were introduced as Hamada's distant relatives and moved into a house arranged by Ebihara. Ebihara warned them that while they could use the house freely, his vintage GTR in the garage was strictly off limits.
乗るな！開けろ！
Ebihara was furious, so he had his subordinate hire a couple of thugs to rough up Akira Sato. There was another reason behind this. He wanted to test Akira Sato's abilities, but he insisted that this matter be kept absolutely secret, and no one else should know. So, that night, two thugs confronted Akira Sato. Akira Sato immediately gauged their moves and strength but remembered the boss's orders not to fight back. To appear as a weak, ordinary person, he exaggerated his expressions and actions, even ending up begging for mercy with a bloody nose and tears.
これはいただい涙を使ってさらに弱者のふりをするプロの普通
The thugs left, thinking Akira Sato was a pushover. Of course, getting beaten up isn't all bad. It can sometimes trigger protective instincts in some women.
使う？
いや、いい。
そう。
Accustomed to the life of an assassin, Akira Sato was extraordinarily cautious. He made his bed look like he was sleeping in it, but he actually slept curled up naked in the bathtub. In the morning, he wouldn't bother putting on clothes and would promptly watch T. Okamura's comedy show, his only form of entertainment. Ebihara visited again, wanting an honest conversation with Akira Sato. Akira Sato, never one to hide anything, greeted him stark naked. Not only does Akira Sato prefer sleeping in the nude, but he also likes working out at home unclothed. Ebihara couldn't help but glance at his little bird. Yes, Akira Sato indeed kept a pet bird. It was a parrot given to him by the boss at a farewell party, meant to help him learn how to be a normal person through pet care. It's said that Fable can kill any target within 6 seconds, so Ebihara had his men bring in a volunteer, a hulking man ready for a duel to the death with Akira Sato. Guns at the ready. To ease Akira Sato's conscience, Ebihara further explained that this man, though not a killer, was guilty of every other vice. His worst crime was defaulting on high-interest loans from the Yakuza. Whether or not Akira Sato killed him, his fate was sealed. Akira Sato pondered for a moment, then decided to switch into assassin mode. Seeing Akira Sato step out of the car to fight, Ebihara started the timer.
いい。
In Ebihara's eyes, Akira Sato was a dangerous figure capable of wiping out any gang, and keeping him around would undoubtedly cause trouble. The boss had ordered Akira Sato not to kill for a year, so Ebihara wanted to force him to break this rule and use it as an excuse to drive him away. Akira Sato had already seen through his plan, so he simply incapacitated the brute, making him unable to get up, and sincerely stated that he now only wanted to live an ordinary life. The era of the Heisei slackers was over, now it was the Reiwa era of gaming. Akira Sato decided to follow the trend and enjoy a peaceful life at home. The boss had given Akira Sato 30 million yen as living expenses, allowing him the luxury to laze around. However, Ebihara thought this was far from an ordinary life. After all, ordinary people had to go out and work. So, Akira Sato left behind over 20 years of experience and sought a new career path, only to fail several interviews in a row. At a crossroads in his life, he met that girl again. The girl, warm as a spring day and radiant as the morning sun, was named Kayamizu Masaki. Upon learning that Akira Sato and his sister had just moved from Tokyo and knew no one in Osaka, she recommended him for a job at the design company where she worked. The company's boss, Tanaka, hired him on the spot because his wage demands were incredibly low, only 800 yen an hour. With no bonuses, Akira Sato's job was to make deliveries for clients, using boss Tanaka's bicycle as his vehicle.
Go.
That evening, to welcome Akira Sato, the entire company went out for dinner, including Akira Sato. There were 4 people: boss Tanaka, Misaki, and a bespectacled man. The bespectacled man seemed taciturn and dull but was actually quite perverted, secretly taking photos of Misaki under the table. Akira Sato noticed and discreetly knocked the camera lens out of alignment. Misaki's father had accumulated massive debts, and her mother was seriously ill. To make ends meet, Misaki worked multiple part-time jobs in addition to her daytime design work. Hearing that Akira Sato had lost his parents at a young age, Misaki felt a deep sense of sympathy and pity. However, Akira Sato, having been trained in the mountains since childhood, had a vastly different lifestyle and habits from ordinary people.
皮ごと食べるの？
普通食べるやろ。
いや食べれんこともないけど。
スイカの皮も食べたりして。
ひょっとして普通食べへんのか。
One evening, Misaki lost her house keys after work and asked if she could stay with Akira Sato's sister, Yoko, for the night. Since arriving in Osaka, Yoko had been frequenting various bars, targeting men who were there to pick up women, and always drinking them under the table. Previously, Ebihara had warned Akira Sato not to get involved with Misaki. But why? It turned out that to pay for her mother's medical treatment, Misaki had worked as a gravure model for a subsidiary of Shin Kurogumi. When Shin Kurogumi's Kazama tried to lure her into adult films, she was so frightened that she quit immediately. Misaki managed to escape thanks to Ebihara's secret help. He felt that those involved in the underworld and ordinary people each had their own destinies and lives. Therefore, he warned Akira Sato not to disturb the life of someone like Misaki. But faced with Misaki's request, how could Akira Sato refuse? So, he decided to explain the situation to Ebihara. When Akira Sato knocked on Ebihara's door, a stranger answered. This man was Kojima, Ebihara's subordinate. 8 years ago, Kojima had been imprisoned for intentional assault and had just been released. Ebihara took him in, giving him a place to stay. Kojima looked arrogant and intimidating, but when real trouble struck, he was helpless. Ebihara suddenly suffered a heart attack in the bathroom. Kojima could do nothing but wail helplessly, while Akira Sato calmly called an ambulance and ensured everything was settled before leaving. It was just another ordinary day. Another day at work for ordinary people. Misaki, struggling with a lack of inspiration while designing, asked Akira Sato for his opinion.
これは
ライオンや。
なんというかハッピーな迫力があるな。
二次元のユーモアが全開ですね。
いや子供の落書きやん。いいんですか社長、こんなん商品化して。
うまいだけがデザインやない。人の心を温かくしたり癒したりできる絵もいい絵や。
Boss Tanaka, knowledgeable in design and employee motivation, saw Akira Sato's potential to bring more value to the company. He immediately raised Akira Sato's hourly wage to 900 yen. The next day, as Misaki was about to leave, an unexpected visitor arrived. It was Kojima. But why had he come to see Misaki? This story goes back to Kazama, the one who tried to lure Misaki into adult films. Kazama owed Kojima 3 million yen and had conveniently skipped repayment when Kojima was imprisoned. Upon Kojima's release, his greeting to Kazama was a knife, which frightened Kazama into promising to repay double. The problem was, where would the money come from? In his desperation, Kazama suggested that Misaki was a promising candidate. If they could lure her into the industry, they would make a lot of money. Kojima saw no need for a middleman to take a cut, so he gave Kazama a bullet as a parting gift. Kazama was in charge of the adult entertainment sector in Shin Kurogumi. With him out of the picture, Kojima could take over his operations. However, Ebihara despised the adult entertainment industry. so when Kojima expressed his ambition to get involved, Ebihara immediately stopped him, insisting they would discuss it once he was out of the hospital. Kojima agreed outwardly but secretly followed the leads Kazama had left to find Misaki. Misaki firmly rejected Kojima's advances, but he wasn't one to give up easily. He had plenty of time and methods. He had Tanaka stabbed and stalked Misaki's mother, harassing and threatening her to force Misaki into agreeing to work in the adult industry. This situation made it impossible for Misaki to focus on her design work, but thankfully, Akira Sato was there to help her. To show her gratitude and to find an excuse to have a drink, she invited Akira Sato to dinner after work.
もしかして普通頭から食べへんのか
好きに食べたらええや
Although Akira Sato was a bit unusual, Misaki felt particularly safe and healed in his presence. When they parted ways, she asked Akira Sato to draw a picture for her. It didn't matter what he drew, she would cherish it. After dinner, Misaki went to Kojima's place, where everything was ready for her. Misaki stated up front that she would only work for a year, but just as she was about to sign the contract, the doorbell rang. Kojima got up to answer, and soon after, his screams were heard. Kojima had no idea that while he was ambitiously planning his future in the adult industry, someone was already watching him. This person was Kazama's boss, Tsunagawa. Tsunagawa, a key member of Shin Kurogumi, had long known that Kojima killed Kazama. He saw this as an opportunity to blame Ebihara, claiming that Ebihara had ordered Kojima to do it, thus creating a pretext to overthrow Ebihara and seize power himself. Tsunagawa had two assassins kidnap Kojima, not knowing they would get an additional prize. Meanwhile, Ebihara learned from his subordinate that Kojima had violated orders by getting involved in the adult industry, thereby encroaching on Tsunagawa's territory. Realizing Kojima was missing and likely in trouble, Ebihara, despite his illness, requested Akira Sato's help. Akira Sato initially didn't want to get involved, but Ebihara immediately offered him the GTR and resolutely declared that no ordinary man would refuse such an offer. Akira Sato arrived at Kojima's house and, through various clues, deduced that Kojima had been taken but was still alive. To his surprise, Misaki was also involved. He immediately called Ebihara to ask who their enemy was. Rescuing Kojima was secondary. The main priority was saving Misaki, who had been kind to him. This time, he was determined to get her out safely. Tsunagawa's primary reason for kidnapping Kojima was to force him to confess that Ebihara had ordered Kazama's murder. He prepared a tape recorder to capture the confession. However, Kojima turned the tables, accusing Tsunagawa of being the mastermind. Anyone with basic knowledge of recording principles would not have been infuriated by this, but Tsunagawa was. Kojima, emboldened, claimed that Ebihara would send an assassin to rescue him. At that moment, the two assassins Tsunagawa had hired showed a video on a phone. The video featured a masked man, Akira Sato. Kojima, unaware of Akira Sato's true capabilities, only felt that Akira Sato was no ordinary person. At this point, he was bluffing out of desperation. The assassin's eyes lit up. During a previous mission, someone had arrived first and completed the task with extreme professionalism. They recalled urban legends about a prophetic killer. A phone left at the scene had recorded a video of Akira Sato in action. The phone's owner had been preparing to take pictures for social media when Akira Sato had struck, leaving the phone behind in the chaos. Tsunagawa and the assassins were thrilled. When asked about Akira Sato's strength, they were told he wasn't just strong, he was a top-tier assassin genius. Tsunagawa, hearing this, was visibly shaken and quickly summoned more reinforcements. One of Tsunagawa's men had his eyes on Misaki and wanted to experience being an adult film star prematurely. Just then, a masked figure silently took him down. It was Akira Sato. Tsunagawa's headquarters was a heavily guarded waste processing plant. However, Akira Sato didn't take the front entrance. His route was more like something out of a Jackie Chan movie. Misaki was terrified of the sudden appearance of this mysterious figure. Through an earpiece, Yoko told Akira Sato that Misaki had never witnessed such violence and suggested he do something amusing to calm her down. Akira Sato, clueless about comforting girls, could only think of the comedian T. Okamura, who never laughed at anyone. Seeing Akira Sato's quirky get-up, Misaki was even more frightened, wondering if he was some kind of pervert. Outside, Yoko was anxiously frustrated, having no way to help. After hiding Misaki in a safe place, Akira Sato went back to rescue Kojima. At this point, Kojima had become bait. Tsunagawa's men were lying in wait, ready to strike. One of the assassins, a man in a hoodie, jumped out and taunted Akira Sato with a challenge. The factory's exits and key routes were all monitored by cameras. Although they hadn't captured Akira Sato, some cameras had suddenly gone offline. The assassins realized that Fable had arrived. From the disabled cameras, it was clear that Fable's primary target was not Kojima but the girl. When they reached the room, they found only their fallen comrades. Peeking through a crack in the door, Akira Sato quickly formulated a plan. He burst through with a metal door, drawing the gangsters' fire. Once they had emptied their magazines, Akira Sato sprang into action, adhering strictly to the no-kill rule. He only incapacitated his opponents. This rescue method was incredibly dangerous and thrilling, but safety was always the priority. In the control room, Tsunagawa, furious, ordered his men to surround and capture Akira Sato and Kojima. The gang members, in a chaotic frenzy, closed in on Masaki's location. Fearing discovery, Masaki quietly moved to a new hiding spot. Noticing her peril, Akira Sato attempted to help Masaki, but Kojima's situation presented him with another serious problem. Akira Sato had to return to protect him. He couldn't kill them, but he also had to prevent Kojima from going berserk. After a fierce battle, the two finally escaped their relentless pursuers. They reached a safe location just as Tsunagawa caught up. Emboldened by Akira Sato's support, Kojima lunged at Tsunagawa. Seeing that they were evenly matched, Akira Sato decided to let them fight it out while he maintained control of the situation. In the end, Kojima overpowered Tsunagawa, but he too was exhausted and collapsed. Relieved, Akira Sato went to find Masaki. Masaki had been caught by one of the assassins. Just as Akira Sato moved to rescue her, the assassin in the hoodie appeared. The two immediately engaged in a fierce duel. As Akira Sato and the hoodie-clad assassin battled, Yoko arrived on the scene. Earlier, during the fight, Akira Sato's earpiece had broken, so Yoko, worried, came to help and spotted one of the assassins. This wasn't their first encounter. Previously, at a bar, this assassin had harassed Yoko. After dealing with him, Yoko rushed to rescue Masaki. At this moment, Masaki is gripping the broken railing tightly, teetering on the edge of falling. Meanwhile, Akira Sato, after a fierce struggle, deals with the hooded man and saves Masaki just as she falls. When Masaki wakes up, she finds that the person by her side is one of Ebihara's subordinates. The entire ordeal felt like a nightmare to Masaki. To reassure herself that she was indeed back in reality, she sought out the one person who brought her comfort, Akira Sato. By then, Akira Sato had already finished the drawing she had requested. With this reassurance, Masaki finally slept peacefully. Akira Sato then handed Kojima over to Ebihara. Faced with the subordinate who had caused so much trouble, Ebihara punished him according to their code. Ebihara then met with Tsunagawa to reconcile and settle past grievances. Because Akira Sato spared his subordinates, Tsunagawa agreed to a ceasefire. The two assassins, feeling relieved to have escaped death, were suddenly ambushed and killed by a silent figure who took the phone, proving Fable's existence. This figure was none other than Fable's boss. The boss had a hidden agenda in making Akira Sato learn to live like an ordinary person. Akira Sato exhibited traits of savant syndrome, highly intelligent with cognitive impairments but possessing extraordinary abilities in certain areas. The boss's goal in integrating Akira Sato into normal life was to reduce his killing skills. So, could Akira Sato truly become an ordinary person? That concludes today's story. If you enjoyed it, please follow and support us. Feel free to leave your thoughts in the comments section. Let's continue to ignite the sparks of sword and blade together.